Welcome to Alternative Investments Chat,
where we demystify the world of alternative investments and financing for entrepreneurs and investors alike.
With these discussions, we hope you're more empowered to unlock opportunities in your business or portfolio. I'm Erin.
And I'm Erica. Let's get started. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of Alternative Investments Chat. Today, we're peeling back that curtain on an industry you think you might know, but you probably don't.
That's right. It's manufacturing. That is the engine behind your phone, your car, and even your coffee maker. But we're not here to talk about the old school assembly lines. So instead of that, we're going to be talking about manufacturing as an alternative investment. And believe it or not, it's becoming a very serious player in that world.
Interesting. So whether you're a seasoned investor or just curious about where smart money's going, stick around. We're diving into why manufacturing is hot, how to get in it, what to watch out for, and how you can invest responsibly. So
that's right. So first things first, when we say investing in manufacturing, we're not talking about buying stocks in GM or Ford.
You mean like the assembly line?
Yeah, the assembly line, the Ford assembly line. Yeah. We learned about that in school.
We don't like that guy. Now we have 8-hour work days because of him.
Well, that's true. Could be worse, though.
Yeah.
Child labor, that was a thing. Anyways, so as we know, alternative assets go beyond stocks, bonds, and cash. So this is more direct or indirect ownership of manufacturing operations. So think of factories producing EV batteries, drone components, or even next-gen solar panels.
Interesting.
Yeah. So here is a real world example. A contract manufacturer like Sanmina. Now, you might not have heard of them, but they are a major American electronics manufacturer headquartered in San Jose, California.
I was going to say, I might be the only person within our team right here that knows exactly where they are, since I lived in San Jose and I've passed the factory a few times. So.
Yes, not me. This is my first time learning about them, but they are a Fortune 500 company, so very big name.
Oh, yeah, well, trust me, when I say I know where it's at, doesn't mean I know what they did. Don't worry.
just know that the building is there.
Exactly.
They pride themselves on being an end-to-end manufacturing solution. They provide services like design and engineering, test engineering, prototypes, supply chain support, manufacturing, obviously, and order fulfillment and repair. So what do they even help manufacture? Well, they have their hands in many different industries, things like medical systems, communication networks, defense and aerospace, industrial, clean energy, oil and gas, automotive, computing and storage. So basically everything.
When you said they had their hands in many industries, you didn't say all of them.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Seems like it.
Yeah.
Companies they manufacture for include well-known brands like Nokia, Dell, HP, IBM, and more.
Okay.
You probably have a piece, they typically produce like the components that go inside of these machines.
Yeah.
So you definitely probably have a little piece of something made by Sanmina in your house.
Yes.
So you're not investing in the actual product. In fact, they don't even brand the machines. It's not like you get an HP printer and it says Sanmina on it, right?
Right.
But you are getting the infrastructure that exists behind that.
I see. Okay. So there's so many different ways to invest in manufacturing. So picture this. You've invested $1.2 million into like a laser cutting machine that's used in an EV battery plant. Okay. I drive an EV car, so this is why this resonates with me. There's a physical asset generating rental income or long-term returns here. There's are even funds focused entirely on specific sectors.
Right.
So like aerospace, for example, aeronautics or astronautics, two different things.
Yep.
So let's take a look at Ascent Aerospace, for example. So this company was founded in 2012 and specializes in manufacturing and integration of aerospace automation technologies and components.
Cool.
So obviously, Ascent works on all things planes, which include tooling, specialized tools and equipment used to perform maintenance, repairs, inspections, and modifications on aircrafts.
Yep.
You can't just go to your Snap-on toolbox and get one of those tools out. It's not the same.
Not the same.
They're totally different. Then you have automation, also known as flight automation or cockpit automation. And this refers to the systems and technologies that reduce the need for human intervention in flying an aircraft. So we typically think of this as like autopilot or your navigation system.
Right.
Our boss is very, very into aircrafts. And so he and I have actually spent a lot of time talking about the tools in the front. Garmin, if you ever get really bored, just Google Garmin. A lot of planes now have Garmins as their devices. What I know, I'm like, things I don't know, I didn't know I needed to know and don't really feel like I still need to know, but I know, right?
Fun fact.
I know. So something else that I think is really cool about Ascent is it actually works on rockets. So in fact, they helped to manufacture the Vulcan rocket developed by the United Launch Alliance, the ULA. It's designed to replace the Atlas V rocket and is certified by the Space Force to carry out national security missions. I think that's really cool.
Yeah.
So the Space Force certified the Vulcan Centaur in March of 2025, allowing it to begin launching national security missions.
Wow.
The Vulcan, I know, right? The Vulcan Centaur is a competitor to the SpaceX Falcon 9 rocket for national security launch contracts. So when aviation demand surges, companies like this one, they tend to ride the wave, but also so do their investors.
Yeah, totally. Potential for some money there and some growth. So why the sudden glow up for manufacturing? A few major trends are contributing to this. Let's start with reshoring. The U.S. is bringing manufacturing jobs back home big time. Obviously, we know a lot about how we have U.S. factories in different countries where we employ people who live in those countries to build things because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
So now we are reshoring. Why? Several reasons, including the CHIPS and Science Act, which we've talked a little bit about before on this podcast. It was created to promote the domestic production of semiconductors. Fragile international supply chains are also contributing to us wanting to reshore. And the U.S.'s delicate relationship with China at the current moment.
Yeah, we won't talk about that.
Also contributing to some companies wanting to move back home. So there is some varying data, but it is estimated that reshoring has created about 250,000 jobs in the year 2024. I think that we have also mentioned on this podcast how Arizona is becoming a chip-making hub.
Yeah.
And you usually think about like San Francisco, Silicon Valley as being that place, especially being like the U.S.'s tech hub.
Right.
But that could very well change with all these major players putting their flag in the sand out here and building these really big factories. And I personally know a few people who have actually started new jobs with these factories that are being built. So I've seen the impacts of reshoring firsthand, which is pretty cool.
Yeah.
And it's not just about jobs. It is about supply chain resilience as well. After COVID, sorry to keep bringing that up.
It's never going away.
It's never going to go away. Unfortunately,
away.
a lot of things changed because of that.
Yeah.
But after COVID, companies started to realize that relying on one supplier in one country can be risky.
Yeah.
If we remember, go back in time and we remember all the things that were difficult to get our hands on, baby formula, tampons, and possibly most important, medical supplies.
Yeah. And I also seem to remember that there was a toilet paper shortage too. Although I don't think that had anything to do with supply chain issues, just people being weird and panicking over weird stuff. I don't.
Yeah, there was a fear about the toilet paper thing. I definitely do remember that, and I never really understood that one because it's like, okay, so the world is ending, right? You're panicking, and the first thing you go to buy is toilet paper. I don't know. Seems like there might be some other things that are more important.
I would think so, and we won't go into that rabbit hole, but there's other things you can use too.
That,
okay.
Sure.
Anyway, okay. Let's pivot back to the topic at hand here. Okay. So another reason why manufacturing is gaining traction is private equity. So as we know, when private firms start to make moves, people take note.
Right.
Just last year, Apollo Global Management acquired Barnes Group. They're a high precision manufacturer for a whopping $3.6 billion in cash money.
Wow, in cash? That's nice.
Yeah, that's not
Could
just.
you imagine what that would look like?
I feel like we think it looks a lot bigger than it is, but I bet it's like just like maybe as big as our table. It'd be heavy though.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah, it is. It is. But needless to say, this is not just like a hobby investment.
Right.
So Apollo has an astounding 512.8 billion assets under management.
Wow, it's a lot.
Okay, so and it's worth noting that they invest primarily in alternative assets. So all the stuff we talk about here on the pod.
Right.
So why do they invest this much in Barnes Group? Well, let's break it down. Barnes Group, Inc. leverages world-class manufacturing capabilities and market-leading engineering to develop advanced processes, automation solutions, and apply technologies for industries ranging from aerospace and medical and personal care to mobility and packing. The big piece here is the aerospace-related manufacturing, which has seen a rise in demand. And Apollo wants it in on that action, obviously.
Yeah, right.
Don't forget about the automation part. So companies like ABB Robotics are integrating AI into robotic solutions. Think smart arms, better image recognition, self-optimization. It's like the Terminator, but for productivity.
Ooh,
Reminds me every single time I read my little daily brew in the morning that's tailored towards our industry. They always have this one that's an arm that's supposed to fry French fries at
I've
fast
seen
food.
that.
It's like called Flippy or Floppy or something.
Yes.
I think it's Flippy because
I've
it's
seen
flip
it
the
at
basket.
an actual restaurant.
Oh, shush,
Yeah,
really?
yeah. When I was in Oregon, I think.
Oh, they're ahead of our time.
Oh no, LA. I was in LA. They have one in LA in a mall there. I saw it.
Coming from working in the restaurant industry, making the French fries, those baskets are way heavier than people think they are. And standing over that grease is disgusting.
hot and
So
gross,
I wish we had a Flippy in there. Anyway, so back to everything else. So plus political tailwinds, okay?
Right.
So we mentioned the CHIPS and the Science Act. So another policy that impacted manufacturing is the bipartisan infrastructure law. Now this was passed in 2021 that allocated $550 billion to manufacturing related projects. This includes chip plants, EV factories, and more.
Pretty cool.
So all of this, why does it matter?
Yeah.
It adds up to a gold mine of opportunity, especially for those who know where to look. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
That is true. Now, for the $1 million question here, how do you get involved as an investor? Well, you've got a few options, whether you prefer to be hands-on or prefer a more passive approach. So let's start with direct ownership. That might mean buying a small CNC machine shop that makes parts for companies like SpaceX. Yes, they exist, and yes, they're profitable.
I believe it.
Or you could go the real assets route, like owning an actual factory building. You can lease it out to a chip maker like Intel. We have a huge Intel plant here in Arizona as well. It's like being a landlord, but for robots and micro processors.
Hopefully they're cleaner than some of the tenants we've seen in the past.
Right? Yeah, you would hope so. Maybe not if you had a Flippy. That's probably not going to be cleaner. But obviously, these options require some serious cash, and that's not really a viable option for most retail investors. So, what other options are available?
Well, like we said earlier, you could always go the private equity route. So you could invest in funds that acquire manufacturers. So KKR bought Ingersoll Rock Band in 2020, or Rock Band.
Rock band. Yeah.
Yes. No, the Ingersoll Rand. There we go. Back in
Ingersoll.
Ingersoll Rand.
Ingersoll Rand.
Why they got to make these names so difficult? No wonder people are investing. Make your names easier, guys.
got it.
Yeah, back in 2021. They're a tool maker for global reach, okay? So then there are innovation startups like Form Labs and 3D printing firms that raised $150 million recently. So we're betting on the next generation of how stuff is getting made, those 3D printers. In fact, an engineer that we work with, also, his son has a 3D printer, and the dad offered me the son's 3D printer to print something for my office. He's like, "Oh, do you need something for your office? I just have my son 3D print." I'm like, I don't know how stable that would be.
It's pretty stable.
Is it?
Yeah, it is.
I'm still weirded out by it. Yeah. Anyway, so obviously there aren't the only ways to get involved, but I think we should talk a bit more about the benefits of investing in manufacturing.
Yes, let's get into that. We'll start off with stable cash flow.
We like that.
We like that, right? It's part of the reason why people like having a salary with a paycheck. It's
Yes.
stable. You can rely on it. Not that every investment is guaranteed, but passive income is always nice.
Yeah.
Many manufacturers operate on these long-term contracts, so revenue can be super predictable. It's kind of like what we talked about real estate when we were talking about the Walgreens. If a Walgreens has a contract, it's usually for many years. Yep. So you can pretty much bet on the fact that the Walgreens is going to be there, and you, if you own the property, is going to be getting that check. Yep. Kind of a similar thing here. Then there's also the tangible value that comes with this type of investment. You're investing in physical things like the machinery, equipment, or buildings. These aren't just theoretical assets that exist on a computer, right? These are things that exist right there on the factory floor. And there's also inflation hedge. Manufacturing tends to weather inflation better because it deals with the physical goods that people still need, especially in sectors like defense or energy. Or, what did we just mention? We talked about COVID. That was a time of severe uncertainty. Lots of people lost their jobs. People, weren't working the way that they were prior. It was an unexpected situation, but people were buying stuff because they were nervous and trying to stock up. But, just because people were losing their jobs didn't mean that they stopped buying
stuff. Yeah. So let's also not forget about our favorite diversification. So manufacturing doesn't always move with the broader stock market. We always have to remember that. It's driven by supply chains, global demand, and infrastructure cycles. One more thing, impact. Want to support green energy? Well, battery manufacturing, wind turbine parts, solar cells. You can put your money where your mission is, if you know what I mean.
Oh, yeah, I like that. Yeah. That's pretty cool. So now you know that we can't talk about the benefits without talking about the risks, right? So there's capital intensity. A new chip factory can cost more than $12 billion with returns not coming in for years. Obviously, most investors are not going to be the people that are putting up the $12 billion to purchase the plant. But if you're invested in it, it might take a little while for those returns to come back to you.
Yeah, it's not like they just build it, people come inside, and then you start turning a profit as soon as the doors are done putting on the hinges, I'm like, no, it takes some time.
It takes time. So this is interesting. Labor challenges. There is projected by the year 2030 to be more than 2 million open manufacturing jobs here in the U.S. So this comes just around the corner. Yeah, 5 years if we're looking at the calendar. You were right about that. This comes from a study that was done by Deloitte and the Manufacturing Institute. And the cost of these missing jobs could potentially total $1 trillion in costs by 2030 alone. About 1.4 million U.S. manufacturing jobs were lost during the early days of COVID, again. According to the study, and that set back the manufacturing labor force by more than over a decade.
Well, yeah, if you have to halt everything that you're doing because no one's allowed to come into work, I mean, I can see why that really messed things up there.
Right. And also, people lose a job. Just because people lose a job doesn't mean they're sitting at home and waiting for that same job to open back up again, right? They're going to go try to make money in a different way. So then you have a bunch of people who potentially left the sector completely, who were doing what they needed to do in order to survive.
Yeah. They might have found a different job that they like better, and they're like, screw you, manufacturers.
Yeah, lots of different options. Not to mention that that sort of work can be really intensive and difficult. You're on your feet. Anyways, so the industry has largely recovered those lost jobs, but they're now urgently seeking new workers, more workers, because of all of these potential jobs that are being added. We talked a little bit about reshoring. Let's think about how that impacts our manufacturing industry. 77% of manufacturers say that they will have ongoing difficulties in attracting and retaining workers since 2021 and beyond. 77%.
That's a lot. We don't really think about having a surplus of jobs as being a bad thing.
Right.
So it's kind of weird. But again, people are getting out of these sectors. They're really demanding jobs. So you might find something different to do.
Yeah.
But here are some other risks to consider when investing in this asset class. Supply chain risks. So in 2024, Red Sea shipping crisis delayed key materials for months, and some plants were forced to pause production altogether. Again, when that happens, it really sets things behind. Also, manufacturing can be sensitive to economic cycles. So, for example, a downturn in housing means fewer appliances sold, which can ripple through the supply chain. We don't really think about all the little itty bitty things in our lives that stem from manufacturing, and especially if you're investing in it, that really
affect manufacturing.
Yes, like I did when we were reading our research and I read that line, I was like, oh, I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Oh, that makes a lot of sense, but it's crazy. So, and another thing is that liquidity is low as well. So selling a factory isn't like selling a stock, as we all know, and it might take 6 to 12 months or longer. Because think about it, we're already having problems selling houses, and when you invest in real estate, sometimes takes a long time to get your money back.
Right. Especially specialized real estate.
Yeah. And I was going to say, think about a building that's 5 times the size of a house. Right. It's probably going to take a little bit longer.
Yeah, definitely. Those are things to consider. Well, now that we have sufficiently scared our listeners, there are some tips that we want to just kind of note here for you to consider if you're interested in investing in this asset class. Number 1, start small. Platforms that allow fractional investing are a great entry point. We've talked a lot about these sorts of platforms for different asset classes. They exist for this one as well. You don't need to go all in on a full factory. In fact, I would not recommend it.
Dang it, I already bought one.
15 billion gone.
Just like that.
Shoot. Also, do your homework, understand the niche. Medical device manufacturing is a world apart from making denim pants, right? So understand what you're getting into, what the profits are, get the industry.
Yeah, you always want to assess demand.
Yep.
So who are your buyers? Are they locked into long-term contracts? Are industries like EVs or aerospace expected to grow? Like, you need to do a little bit of research and go tech forward. A factory using IoT and AI will likely, they're going to most likely outcompete those who aren't modernized.
Modernized?
Yep, there we go.
Modernized?
Modernized.
It's like dancer-sized, but modern.
For modern people?
Yeah, exactly.
Let's go with it. So most of all, plan long term.
Yes.
Manufacturing plays usually require a 5 to 10 years to reach their full value. So this isn't the day trader's game. This isn't like, oh, I'm going to invest and I'm going to get some returns in about a year. No, this is like, they're going to hold your money for a hot minute. So be okay with that.
Yep. Well, that brings us to the end of today's episode. We hope that you've learned a little bit more about manufacturing. It, as a asset class or an investment, it can offer potential stability, real assets, and a stake in trends like automation and green tech. It is the unsung hero of alternative investing, and it's not for the faint of heart.
No.
But for diversification and impact, it can be a powerhouse for people.
I love it. Well, thanks again for joining us, and hopefully we'll see you back next time for another Alternative Investments chat.
Thanks for joining us. Stay tuned for more insight on our next episode.
And don't forget to subscribe to continue the Alternative Investments chat. See you next time.
Content provided in this podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be construed as professional, financial, or investment advice. This podcast should not be construed as an offer to sell or a solicitation of any offer to buy any securities. We strongly recommend that you seek advice from a qualified professional before making any financial decisions.